This episode is sponsored by Agent CRM. If you're in sales and tired of paying 3, 4, or 5 different companies for your email, CRM, funnels, phone, follow-up automation, check out Agent CRM. It's an all-in-one tool that combines all that you need to reach out, nurture, and close your clients. They've got weekly support calls so you can get up and running in no time. Get a free 14-day trial by going to the link below in the show notes. I think we're on the fourth sneaky threat, right?
Oh, yeah, we're up to number 4. When it comes to being a business owner, I think the biggest blind spot is running the business in sort of a random kind of way. And I don't mean this to be insulting, but when so many business owners get burnt out, I see this a lot, so burnt out and so underperform their capabilities because they can't scale. They lack systems and processes that run the business. And I guess a simple role would be what I call role clarity. So if you have a role in your business that needs to be filled by someone, you have to clearly define the role and what the role involves and how the role performs and how it executes. But let's say you have 4 employees in that role, right? And you have Melissa and Steve and Susan and John. If you constantly adapt and bend and flex the role's scope of tasks, because Melissa doesn't like doing this and John's better at that and Steve's better in that, you're running 4 independent operations, which takes way more time, way more labor, creates random results, and is just much, much tougher on you. And what ends up happening is, because no one ever gets good at anything, and because you now have to coach 4 different people 4 different ways, the business continually underperforms. You probably have much more employee turnover, which was way more expensive. All right. We all know that turning over employees is very expensive. The time invested in them is gone. We usually don't get an ROI. We have to start over from scratch. We have to reallocate other people's time, yours and other people's, to retraining the new people. And so getting really clear on role clarity, scope of the job, having it all documented, having that be basically part of the interviewing, hiring, onboarding, coaching process. Because really, ultimately, each person needs to be either a revenue contributor or a revenue retainer, right? So if you think of businesses, most businesses have a sales and service component, or as I call it, a sales support, because I really think everybody's in sales. It's just different flavors, right? So the sales support person takes burdens off of the sales team that they shouldn't be spending their time on, and essentially reinforces the value of the business to the customer. And of course, the salespeople sell. And if people don't know how those roles are supposed to really be performed in an optimal way, one of 2 things is happening, or both. One, you're not making enough sales. You're losing sales that you otherwise should have made because you had a better sales process. And people are leaving you because your sales support team is not retaining them, because they're not creating the experience that would have someone want to stay with the business. And you're thinking, wow, what does this have to do with financial planning, Barry? I think it has everything to do with financial planning, because I think people perceive financial planning as almost like tax preparation. It's just sort of like this necessary evil, and I hope to retire someday, and it's this vague thing. And I believe a lot of people go through life a lot like the steel ball in a pinball machine. That at some point somebody pulled back the lever and kind of sent you up to the top of the machine, and now you're just being kind of bumped around by random bumpers and flippers and things, and hoping that the ball doesn't shoot through the middle of the flippers and you lose a ball. I think people have the ability to do things much more intentionally, both on the personal and business sides. And so I'll give you an example on the personal side that is sort of near and dear to my heart, because we're talking about business owners and entrepreneurs, but businesses are owned by people. And those people probably have families. And I have a real soft spot for doing the right kind of planning for children, because they don't get a choice, right? And so if you take children into the world, I think most parents come at this from, my first role is to keep them alive and keep them safe and keep them protected and then feed them. But what if you're not here anymore? and you and your wife go on date night, you get all dressed up, you go out to dinner, you leave them with Becky the babysitter, and then you get plowed by a truck. Sorry, but that's my example. Is Becky the babysitter going to raise them? No.
Right.
But what mechanisms have you put in place to make sure Becky, number one, knows what to do that night, but that the right steps happen and the right things have been put in place, that we've established guardianships for our children, that we've intentionally selected who these people should be and why, and we've put in place successor guardians. And maybe the person who's the guardian isn't necessarily the person who should be the financial manager of the money, because maybe your sister is super mom, and you guys share the same beliefs about how to raise kids, and her kids are awesome, but she can't balance a checkbook. And so maybe your other sister is an accountant, and she should be the one who should be the financial trustee of the child's money until they're adults. And so we use things like wills and trusts to make sure that everything happens the way we want it. Our personal selves are taken care of. Like if we become incapacitated, our final wishes are addressed if we're no longer here. We give people the control and the access through things like powers of attorney for financial matters and healthcare, so that when the bad things happen, the right outcomes occur, and we don't create more stress and more anxiety and more problems and more fights for our families. So what's interesting is I do often more estate planning with my business owner clients than I do with my individual clients, meaning I have all my individual clients do wills and trusts and all that, but the integration of the estate planning on the personal and business sides is more critical with a business owner, and usually a little bit more complex. And so I think it's important to not just isolate and say, oh, business owner is over here and personal people are over here. When it comes to things like estate planning, it is very integrated and is very part of it. And so I think if you look at it from a blind spot standpoint, am I so busy doing the business of my business that I miss taking care of some of the most important people in my life to take care of them?